All right, let's talk about one of the most popular budgeting methods out there. It's a really simple rule, and it's designed to bring some much-needed clarity to your financial life. You know that feeling, right? Your paycheck hits the bank, your account looks pretty healthy, and then a few weeks go by. You look at the balance again and just wonder, how did all those little purchases add up so fast? It can create this whole cycle of stress where you're just hoping a forgotten bill doesn't pop up and cause problems. Well, the good news is you don't need some crazy complicated spreadsheet or to spend your nights staring at numbers to break that cycle. This is where a really straightforward budgeting framework can honestly change everything and help you finally feel like you're in the driver's seat with your money. So let's get right into it. The 50-30-20 rule. You might have heard of it. It was famously promoted by U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren in her book, All Your Worth. And ever since it came out in 2006, it's pretty much become the gold standard for its simple, no-nonsense approach to managing your money. The idea here is just brilliantly simple. You take your take-home pay, that's your after-tax income, and you split it into just 3 buckets. That's it. It's a way to give every dollar a general job to do without getting totally bogged down tracking every last penny. And seeing it like this really drives home the main point. This isn't about restriction. It's about being intentional with your money. The goal is to find a balance where you can cover your essentials, actually enjoy your life, and still build for the future, all at the same time. Okay, so first up, we've got the biggest slice of the pie. 50% for your needs. These are the absolute non-negotiables, the things you have to pay to live. We're talking about your rent or mortgage, utility bills, basic groceries, gas to get to work, and insurance. This is the foundation of your entire budget. Next up is the 30% for your wants. And let's be real, a budget that doesn't have any room for fun is a budget you're not going to stick to. So this category is for all the non-essentials that make life more enjoyable. You know, eating out, your hobbies, that Netflix subscription, vacations, all the good stuff. And finally, we get to what is maybe the most important part for your future, that last 20%. This is for savings and paying down debt. This is where you really pay yourself first. You're building an emergency fund, you're investing for retirement, or you're aggressively tackling high-interest debt. This 20% right here, this is your ticket to long-term financial freedom. So, in theory, this all sounds pretty great, doesn't it? But let's move into a real-world example to see how it works, and, more importantly, where this perfect little system can start to fall apart. Okay, imagine your take-home pay is $5,000 a month. The math is super simple. You'd have $2,500 for your needs like rent and food, $1,500 for your wants, and a really solid $1,000 to put towards savings or debt. I mean, in a perfect world, that looks incredibly clean and manageable. But reality is rarely that neat, is it? For some people, trying to stick to this rule can actually create a false sense of security or even feel dangerous. Financial advisor Michelle Sinclair Doyley even said that it can encourage people to just spend more as their salary goes up, instead of using that extra money to get ahead on their savings goals. And here's the critical point. For a lot of us, real life gets in the way. With costs for everything soaring, just one need, like housing, can completely blow up that 50% category. In fact, a 2021 census found that nearly a third of all households are spending over 30% of their income on housing alone. Just think about that. That's the entire wants bucket gone before you've even bought a single carton of eggs. That is a huge problem. So what are you supposed to do when the standard rule just doesn't fit your life? Do you just throw your hands up and give up on budgeting altogether? No, absolutely not. Here's the key. You have to see the 50-30-20 rule as a guideline, not some strict, unbreakable law. Think of it like a compass that points you in the right general direction, but you might have to adjust your path based on the actual terrain you're on, especially if you're working with a lower income or live in a really high-cost city. And that reality has led to some really popular variations. For a lot of people, a 60-30-10 or even a 70-20-10 split is way more realistic. In these versions, the needs category gets expanded to reflect what it actually costs to live. But these changes require a trade-off. What you're doing is prioritizing your essential needs, and sometimes debt repayment, which means the wants and savings categories have to shrink. It's all about being ruthlessly honest with your numbers and making the budget work for your reality, not some ideal. Now, for some people, even these flexible percentages just don't feel right, and that's okay. They might actually prefer a totally different approach, one that gives them a bit more detail and a lot more control. A really popular alternative is something called zero-based budgeting. With this method, your income minus your expenses has to equal zero. Every single dollar gets a specific job. So while the 50-30-20 rule is all about simplicity and flexibility, zero-based budgeting gives you intense, granular control. It's awesome for people with aggressive goals, but you have to know it can be pretty time-consuming. At the end of the day, whether you like the broad strokes of a percentage rule or you're someone who loves the nitty-gritty detail of zero-based budgeting, there is one universal truth. The best system is the one you will actually use, week in and week out. Consistency is what builds real financial control over time. And probably the best way to stick to any system is to just automate it. The second your paycheck lands, set up automatic transfers to sort your money into different accounts or digital pods, one for needs, one for wants, one for savings. When you spend from these dedicated accounts, you take all the guesswork out of it and remove the temptation to overspend. So if you take one thing away from all of this, let it be this one action item. Go look at last month's spending and calculate the exact percentage of your income that went to true absolute essentials. Not your wants disguised as needs, but the real basics. Knowing that number, your true need percentage, is the most powerful first step you can take to build a budget that actually works for your life.